Good day, beautiful souls. So, I don't think I'm ready to be in front of the camera yet, so let's just do it this way. Before we begin this heart space healing discussion, I ask that we be surrounded in a bubble of peace, in clarity, and in divine support. Let our Divine Mother and Father stand at our left and at our right to guide us as we enter into the center, as we enter into our heart. So our heart is such an epic muscle because A, it's run by our unconscious, which I would like to think is our divine programming, just like our heart beats consciously on its own without us having to tell it to. It keeps us alive and moves our blood through our body. You know, it lets us know if we're fluttered or feeling a little panicked. And our sacred heart is an open heart where we live in union with a higher power. So if you believe in the universe and God and the divine, whatever that is, that's where their infinite love reaches you. So yesterday I was rereading this emotional spiral, and I was laughing at the border here, and then under the border it's boredom. And I remember always people saying, oh, borderline depression. And I grew up in a family where all the females were diagnosed depressed, you know, on antidepressants, and I had to go on antidepressants for a little bit of time, and I did go off of them. They did help. Though, when I'm talking about depression, I'm going to talk about the vibration. And when we live in lower vibrations, so see these descending vibrations, if that's all we've grown up around is people that are depressed, or people that feel hatred or reject or are still wounded from rejection, if they're bitter, helpless, easy to irritate, lost in sorrow, always worried, always in doubt, angry, revengeful, spiteful, judgmental, self-pity, frustration, jealousy, overwhelmed, fear. And fear is like where we can get up to. But if we can't get past fear, then we can't get over boredom and up into the ascending emotions. So being around people that are always in the descending emotions, you know, it's like your heart, especially as a child, is always like, oh, life should be more fun than this. It should feel lighter than this. It shouldn't be so heavy and dreadful. Hold on, my cat's going cray-cray. Okay, maybe he'll stop, but if not, he's just saying hi. So, growing up, say, in a single mother household with a mother who's always distressed, always depressed, always like just struggling really, or suffering. You know, like my mom is a beautiful lady, though like depression is something that she has struggled with her whole life. You know, and so as many women in my family. So I know that from a higher soul perspective that I came to clear that. As I'm sure that many of you have been born into lower vibing family members, and that's not their fault, it's just what they know. So when we have a blocked and a hurt heart, it keeps us stuck in these descending vibrations. And that's why people that are always in low vibration always seem to find themselves bored, need distractions, need to look outside of themselves, instead of looking inwards where all the good feelings come. That's why we are all on the path of ascension right now. We're ascending into the higher realms of feelings. Emotion is energy in motion. So our feelings signify our emotions, and our emotion and our feelings tell us where we're vibrating emotionally. So this one's for all you control freaks out there that like to be in control. You want to control how you feel and you want to control the outcome of your life, then you must learn to control your feelings and your emotions. When we create from, let's say, failure and hatred, we're like, oh, we always fail, nothing good ever happens to us, oh, I'm a failure, oh, I'm cursed, I'm screwed, I'm this, I'm that. Like, I am is you speaking to the universe. So I am cursed. Like, yeah, okay. Yes, you are. And, you know, like, you better expect to be okay living in that vibration because you created it. And that's why boredom line, I feel, boredom is the cause of people staying in the lower vibration. Because if you're bored, you're depressed. You're not actually applying yourself. You're not working with things inside. You're not working with the inner support. You're only working with outer support. And in a society that's pretty much teaching us to be suppressed, aka depressed, how are you really going to find validation or something that pumps you up for a longer than a distraction amount of time? Like, say, with codependency, like codependency drinking, you know, substance, porn, you know, gossip, that's always going to be there. And it will keep you distracted in those moments, though it's detrimental down the line, because that will just create more slander, more negativity in your life. You know, more giving away your power to something that does not give you back your power. We live in a society where a lot of people suffer low self-esteem. And I believe this is because we have a low spirit, like a low connection to spirit and to the higher realms of divine. The stories that we're taught don't really pump us up as kids. Like, we're pretty much told, like, oh, you're good, you go to heaven. You're bad, you go to hell. Okay, well, you're good, you vibrate in heaven, you ascend. You're bad, you vibrate low, you descend. Heaven is on earth, hell is on earth. It's our mind and our heart, our feelings and emotions that separate the realms. Our heart is the center of our chakras. So we have our lower and we have our higher. When we live in our heart, we can easily access the higher. If we live in our root and in fear and in suppression, then we just stay low vibration and animalistic, you know, and very non-co-creative frequencies. We'll put it that way. So no matter where you're vibrating or where you are in life, if you're grieving, if you're self-blaming because you have low self-esteem and low spiritual connection, that's okay. Because you have to think that this is the way that you've been taught and trained to be by a system that likes to have you in this vibration. If the system didn't want you in a low vibration, don't you think that there'd still be morals of the story? There'd still be block parents. There'd be more philanthropy and more charity. There'd be more community. There'd be more self-confidence because people would have more self-love. There'd be more positive talk to one self and to another because we'd be calm, we'd be optimistic, we'd be hopeful. You know, we'd be at peace with what is. Because peace brings relief. And when we can find peace and acceptance in whatever it is we are in, we find refuge. And that's why I think it's so important, because I've lived where I've lived in faith and where I haven't lived in faith. So I've spent plenty of time in these descending vibrations, and peaked to come up and went back down and went back up. And only through awareness did I gain strength and courage. Because when I could label something that I didn't want, I could state that I wanted something different. So if I knew I was depressed, I could say, you know what, I don't want to be depressed anymore. So being spiritual really helped me work on my inner world, reparent myself, reteach myself, you know, reprogram my mind, my beliefs. And it still is always going to be a daily effort, though, you know, after a long time of commitment to this process, you know, you see results, and when you see the results, they're already embedded in you. They're already programmed, and by the time you start seeing them in your external experience, you know that your internal is already running and operating off of this system. And that is some serious support. You know, like, I'm not religious, though I do believe in a higher power, in the divine, in the Most High. I believe that there is a mother and a father God, as in both polarities. And we can see that you are the center between them, and you hold both energies. You can hold the dark feminine and dark masculine, and you can hold the divine feminine and divine masculine. You can be more divinely masculine and dark feminine, and vice versa. Though this mostly just comes from our parents and their frequency, vibration, and energies that we kind of inherited through observation and through being in the same environment as them. And I think one of the greatest things that anybody can do that had immature parents is to mature and reparent yourself, because you owe it to yourself, especially if you have children, because like children are our future, and children should be wished by their parents to be everything more and all that they couldn't or wish they could have been, but because their children deserve it, not because their parents want it, or not because their parents want to be in control and be like, oh, I taught you that, or I made you this way, or you don't want to be like me? No, I don't. And I know you want me to. But maybe like the best thing you can do for me is wish me to be an independent person. Right? That is going to be in the ascending. And these are all of our birthrights, like unconditional love, like that's God looking down at us, right? Like, and sending us all of these higher frequencies and vibrations. And when we choose to want to feel happiness, then we have to choose to stop focusing and connecting with the feelings of doubt, of anger. And when we do get angry, that's okay, because when we get angry, we're being triggered. And if we're feeling mad, then our emotion must be in anger, and then we know our emotion is vibrating low. So then we need to find ways to raise ourselves up. So dance, coloring, yoga, exercise, cooking, meditation. Meditation, it's not the easiest thing to get into, though if you can stay fully focused in the here and now on any task mindfully, like making popsicles, baking muffins, painting, doing laundry, and really observe yourself. Observe yourself like, oh, I'm doing laundry and oh, these chores, or like, oh, and you're just like triggered and just pissed off and reacting and just like, I forgot this piece of clothes, and then it's like, it just ripples. Or if you're like, okay, I'm gonna do my laundry, like I love clean clothes, I like to take care of my things, like I love the water, thank you for supplying all this freshness for myself, for my clothes. You gotta make a game out of it. You gotta make it fun, because we have to change the way we feel to change our emotion. So if you can change the way you feel about laundry from, it's a chore, I hate it, or like housework, like, I gotta clean my house, like, well, yeah, you made the mess, so did you complain while you're making the mess? Maybe. Though, like, you made the mess, I'm sure you enjoyed it, you got what you needed done, and now you're gonna clean up so you can have a sacred space. It's not the act that you gotta focus on, it's the end product. So like, okay, I'll get through the motions, and while I'm here in the present, and I'm cleaning, I'm doing the laundry, I'm just gonna enjoy it, because I know the outcome is going to be so rewarding. So if we dread something, then it's like we hate it, and when we hate it, we vibrate low with it. So then we can't really enjoy it, because we're already feeling so low about it. If we're like playful when it comes to house cleaning and laundry, say we're even playful, we make ourselves a chore list, give ourselves some gold stars or stickers, because if stickers are cool no matter how old you are, especially if you and your inner child are like this, okay? So be playful. You are worthy of having a clean space. You're worthy of looking around you and feeling at peace, because you've already done your work. And that can make us cause procrastination, is if we're like really dreading something like cleaning the house and we don't want to do it, and we just work ourselves up with all this anger and aggression and like avoidance. and it never gets done. And then we just put it off, put it off, put it off, because we're not excited. We're not hyping ourselves up. And if we're not excited or happy to do something, and we're like, oh my house is dirty, shaming ourselves, like no will to live at the bottom, like no will to clean, like that's not fair for anybody. Like, no. And it's going to take you committing to yourself and committing to you wanting change. And if you want change, if you want to control that, then you got to control your feelings. Emotion, energy and motion. And energy, what energy goes out, energy comes back. So if your energy and motion is all this despair and discouragement and, you know, irritation and hopelessness, then you're going to create the same experience and feeling. Oops. 10:44. Let's connect in with the divine. Say thank you. Thank you, divine. Okay, so also being in these lower vibrations, they're like little portals to get you into higher vibration. So through humiliation, like humiliation makes us really just be like humbled and be like, well, you can be humbled after humiliation, or you can get vengeful and like spiteful. But when you get humbled through humiliation, you know, you surrender. You surrender to like, okay, like I'm human, maybe I don't know everything, like I clearly don't know what I'm doing, or I make mistakes. And then that's when you can humble yourself in front of, let's say, the Lord or the universe, where you get down and you're like, you know, I'm so humiliated, like I just keep living in sadness and anger, and I'm sick of it and I don't want it anymore. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. It's not comfortable. And you just cry it all out, cry it like it's gonna kill you, and you're just covered in all this pain, and you just scream it out like, I don't want to feel this way anymore. And then you cry and you let it go and you catch your breath. You look at your ugly cry in the mirror and you're like, oh my God, like, am I still crying? However long it takes, months, days, a whole 10 hours of just, you will feel it enough that you will feel it so much that you feel something different. Just be like, you know what, no, I'm done with this. You know what, I'm over feeling depression. I'm over feeling hatred. I'm over it. And then, boom, you've labeled it, you've said no to it, and now you have all this space and sight to move forward and stay focused. So, okay, I'm overwhelmed, I'm fearful. Okay, so if I'm overwhelmed, I have to figure out how to task in the here and now, mindfully, on how to stay calm. So if say your house is overwhelming you because you're not staying on top of it, or you procrastinate and put it off so much that all of a sudden you turn around and everything's piled up, or whatever, like the dishes, say. You know, if you just did your dishes as you use them, it would keep you more calm because you're in that here and now, and then your dishes are done. And then when you look back at like the kitchen, you're like, oh, okay, it's already clean. That's a more calm way to be. You know, like little tiny things, like write yourself post-its all over the house with powerful affirmations that tell you that you're right where you need to be, like you got this, like one task at a time. And it might seem stupid and overly simple, or not even making sense. So it's baby steps, because step by step, task by task, do we create momentum. And when we create momentum, we create more movement, and then we create more of a path that we're already used to rolling down, you know? If we go on the train and off the train and wait a day and then go on the train, it's going to take us longer to get to our destination than if we just stayed on the train the whole time. You know? So the journey is most of the fun. And you know, when you start watching the way you talk to yourself and the way you think and the way that you react to yourself, you're going to notice that there's a negative voice that's going to keep you in these low vibrations. And you will, if you listen, if it's hard to hear it right away, just keep feeding it. Keep telling it like, oh, I suck. No, I am changing. And I'm going to be awesome, because I am awesome. You know, just slowly start feeding your brain, feeding your eyes, changing your sight, changing your thoughts. And you'll start hearing this voice, I like to call it the God voice versus the devil voice, the negative voice. But the God voice is like when you're ready to tap out and you're like, I can't do this anymore, but yet you still keep going and get the task done. That's the voice you have to learn to listen to and to connect to. So that is your God voice. That is where the love is coming from. And the more you bond with that voice and that feeling, that voice that gives you those good feelings, the more you can hear it and the more you'll focus on it and look to find it. When you look to find it, you will see it and you'll hear it. And slowly, day by day, you will be raising yourself up in the emotional spectrum and your feelings will be changing. You can go back to an old experience and you can change the way you feel it. You know, like if something really hurt you in your past, you know, you can let that pain control you for the rest of your life. You can let that pain trigger your pain body. Or you can give that pain a name, such as pain, such as shame, such as humiliation, such as like, oh, rejection. And you can owe it to yourself to stop negatively talking to yourself and giving that situation power. You can be like, you know what? I was a little naive back then. Maybe I didn't know my worth. Or maybe I was just played because somebody else was in such lower vibrations that, you know, they manipulated me. And that's on them. But I can choose to grow from this manipulation and choose to be smarter from it. And see, learning and self-love. Because you can love yourself. Just because somebody else can love you doesn't mean you can't love yourself. Love yourself so good that they're like, damn, why didn't I love that? Guys, you didn't see it. And now I got all of it. Okay? Yay. And we have to tell ourselves we are worthy. If we grew up in an abusive environment where our parents were just in their own ruckus all the time and maybe you were always in the way or always collateral damage, like I'm sure that they didn't big up you and your negative mind didn't, your positive mind didn't get to develop because you didn't get to witness that. And it's not something we learn, like it's something we have inherent in us, though it takes our awareness to remember it. And only through being able to see it and witness it and be open to it can we be aware of it. And awareness triggers us to remember. So wherever you are at now, consider about how you feel about the things you do, about what you do, about how you do things. How do you feel about your morning routine? How do you feel about the food that you eat? How do you feel about, you know, changing and growing? How do you feel about accepting that you need to change or need to reparent yourself? And that, you know, your childhood, anything that was negative wasn't your fault because you didn't know any better. But now you can, and you're older and wiser, no matter what age you are. And you can give yourself, you know, the adulting and the growing up that you never witnessed. So, in order to create energy, we have to move through our emotions. And our feelings help us figure out what our emotions are telling us. And our emotions tell us how, and our emotions signify how we're feeling. So it's important, your feelings are important, and it's important to feel how you are feeling. All feelings are worthy of being validated by yourself, even if not by others, because you can't ask somebody to help you figure out how you're feeling if they ain't feeling their feelings. Like, that's just going to make them feel some type of way, and they're probably just going to react and shut down and be like, I can't know, you know? Like, most people run from their feelings, and then they wonder why they live in a fear-based reality, because if you're running from your feelings, you're actually scared of them. And to live in fear is like, it's just like, that's gonna curse you. You know, and that's why we are at the goal of living in love. Like, when we can live in love, we live in our light. And we must clear our darkness, our shadows, our negativity. We must heal it, work with it, transmute it, change it. reprogram it, so that we can therefore live in a higher emotional state. And we all deserve that. And when we all do this heart work, the world wins. Because when one person moves to vibrate higher, it makes a ripple effect where everybody vibrates higher. And this is the grand awakening. Like, this is the golden age. Like, you can do this willingly, with excitement, with like, oh, I'm going to be a part of this team, be in spirit, we're going to change, we're going to raise, we're going to awaken. You can embrace that, or you can just keep trying to avoid it and push your feelings into another corner, because eventually they're going to come in and corner you from within, and they're going to need your attention. Like, your inner child's going to be like, why are you still rejecting me and ignoring me? Like, you're all that I have, and you're leaving me in this dark corner, still hurt over all of these things that have happened, when all I want to do is create love and positivity and security and playfulness and peace in our life. Like, do I have to live like this forever? No. Your inner child does not. Don't leave them trapped in a room, not knowing how to stop feeling the way that they feel. And like, if your parents are anything like mine, like, no, like, feelings, no. They thought they knew stuff, but they didn't feel stuff. And they tried to avoid all those sad feelings that they felt as children their whole life. And now, you know, like, I couldn't imagine having to be, you know, just not on my own team at that age. Like, you have to be your own best friend. You have to be your inner child's best friend and parent. That is your duty as a soul. Like, we're birthed where we need to, so that we could grow into what we need to. But in order to grow into what we need to, we usually need to outgrow what we're birthed into. You know, you can't do things the same way and expect change. Something Einstein said. And I think that's good for today. Just be open to it. Let this, you know, percolate in your brain space and in your heart space. So when I ask you, how do you feel about feeling? Does that make you uncomfortable? Does it make you confused? Do you feel neutral? Do you not? Like, what do you feel when you feel? Do you feel anxiety? Do you feel calm? Like, you're going to be open to it? And what are your emotions telling you? When you hear the word empathy, what does your emotions tell you? When you hear victor, what do your emotions tell you? What do you feel? When you hear abundance, let's do that. We'll end with this. When you hear the word abundance, what emotion gets triggered? And how do you feel? When you hear abundance, do you think of like infinite love, infinite wealth, infinite health? Like, yeah, abundance. I'm abundant in air and water and freshness and life power and energy. Or when you hear abundance, do you think of lack? Like, I don't have any of that abundant. I'm hardly surviving. I'm struggling. Okay, so then we know, okay, we got to feel better about abundance. So we have to look at things and be grateful. So gratitude will always raise your vibration, especially for abundance. Okay, I'm grateful for the bed I get to sleep in every night. I'm grateful for my shower, for my towel, for my animals, for my kids, for my cell phone. I'm grateful that I get to eat more than a tiny meal every day. If you do. I'm grateful for water. I'm grateful for, you know, the awareness to understand that change is okay, and I can welcome it, and I can create better things from it, and that I don't need to be fearful or scared. For there are every ancestor in my family supporting me from spirit. There's every animal that I've ever known supporting me in spirit. There's the elements, there is hope, there's faith, there's God, there's the universe, there's the cosmos. You have to look outside of, you know, tunnel vision to see the bird's eye view. And when we're stuck in these descending emotions, we're stuck in tunnel view. We're stuck in a tiny little box filled with depression and disappointment and worthlessness and victim mentality. And you know, there are victims, of course, but to live in victim mentality is a dishonor to yourself and to humanity. You have everything that you need to change. You just need to make the choice. Choose the choice to choose your emotions and choose your feelings, to choose what you create. And we'll see you next week. Stay blessed, be love, find peace, seek it all. It's yours. You just gotta keep going for it and bringing it in. I send you many blessings. I thank you for being here. Let peace prevail, and may the Most High love you beyond your own expectations. Love you, beloved. Bye.